QoS 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. FC2, please prepare for section 35. OSC, FC1, LBN.
Plus 30. Ja, goeienacht. Ja, was nog even een heel gedoe. Ging niet helemaal in één uur weer helemaal anders. Live, PNN, Starship Flight 8. Mijn moeder zegt ook altijd dat ik te vaak zeg, maar ja, dat komt ook allemaal omdat het allemaal zoveel tegelijk is. Dat je soms ook, en je zit ook maar tegen een camera te lullen. Als je dat niet vaak genoeg doet, dan moet je daar even aan wennen. Goed, we gaan het geluid maar aanzetten van de stream van
finding what are the real world limits of Starship. We're doing it in this very remote area to find those limits before we get ready to return ship to the launch site and eventually catch it. And a lot of the upgrades we made to get to this version of ship are going to enable that.
Yeah, man, that's going to be exciting to see ship catch. Now, Ship 7 premiered a huge block of upgrades to add more capability to Starship, and we've carried them through to test on Flight 8 today. First, the forward flaps got a redesign. They have shrunk and shifted away from the ship's belly or the heat shield. You can see that on your screen there. This new position will reduce their exposure to heating during re-entry. We've also extended the length of Starship, and we've done this by 2 meters. This additional height gives us about 25% more propellant volume, which will aid in future longer duration missions. We also implemented propulsion upgrades, such as new fuel feed line system for the Raptor vacuum engines, as well as vacuum jacketing of feed lines and an improved propulsion avionics module.
And you've heard us talk, a lot of the experiments we're running today are focused on reentry. We're intentionally removing a whole bunch of tiles all over Starship itself in this missing tile test. They're removed in critical areas this time, including over those propellant tanks, around some of the flaps, as we're really looking to use this flight to push Starship's capabilities. If we're not resilient to a missing tile and the backup ablative underneath, we need to know that. We also test a couple of different tiles on Starship, some metallic ones, one of which has some active cooling built into it.
Avionics also underwent a complete redesign with 4 upgraded Starlink terminals. You can see the location there popping up on your screen. Those now combine Starlink navigation and radio frequency, as well as communications into a single unit. And non-structural versions of the ship's catch fittings have been installed to test thermal performance, i.e. do they survive re-entry, along with a smooth and tapered edge on the tile line to address hot spots we covered and saw in Flight 6.
And we've got some radar sensors on the tower catch arms again, as we're just looking at different ways to measure distance between the arms and a vehicle. These ones are actually protected by kind of a modified version of our heat shield tiles. Catching the ship's going to be a little different from catching a booster. One of the key things is it's going to do that flip right before its landing burn that rapidly reorients your antennas, which you're using for navigation. So those extra sensors on the ground side help just add more layers of control as ship and tower talk together for the catch.
And in another first, Starship will deploy 4 Starlink simulators. They are similar in size to our next generation Starlink satellites. Starship will have the ability to deploy our advanced V3 Starlink satellites, which will help further Starlink's impact in the coming years as we work to expand access to high-speed internet all around the world.
Each Starlink V3 launch is planned to add about 60 terabits per second of capacity to the Starlink network. To give you some perspective, that's about 20 times the capacity we're adding right now with every V2 mini launch on a Falcon 9. Those Starlink simulators that we're going to deploy are on the same suborbital trajectory as Starship itself. They're expected to demise upon entry. Starship's trajectory looks super similar to our last couple of flights. Splashdown is targeted for the Indian Ocean. And then on top of all of that, again, we are planning to relight one Raptor engine while in space. That just helps us get data on the in-space burns and show Starship is capable of deorbiting.
Speaking of deorbiting, thanks to Starlink, one of the hallmarks of the Starship missions are the incredible views that we get throughout flight, and especially during reentry, as evidenced by many a phone and desktop background around here. Yeah. Every day, we're working to expand the Starlink network both on Earth and in space. For how this all connects us to the big mission, let's head back to Chris.
Thanks, Kate. Personally, I love all those epic views of the plasma wrapping around Starship during reentry. Can't wait to see that later today. And fans of Starship may know that Starlink enables us to bring you lots of unprecedented views, both from space and here on Earth. Starlink is the world's largest satellite constellation operating in low Earth orbit today to deliver high-speed, low-latency broadband internet and connectivity, specifically for missions like Starship today. And as you can see on your screen, Starlink brings us many other views because of its capabilities. In addition to the dozens of cameras on Starship itself, we have mobile camera kits with Starlink deployed in the Indian Ocean, which is what you're seeing some footage of right now on your screen from a previous mission. You'll notice the Starlink mini dish in the foreground here as Starship lands in the background. Just what an image that captured from an earlier flight. Now, Starlink also connects our aerial and cinematography units on the ground at Starbase, which will help us deliver the incredible drone shots leading up to launch today. And here on your screen, you can actually see us moving the flaps, preparing Starship for flight, making sure all of the aero surfaces that need to move during flight can do so in the way that we need them to. Now, on Starship itself, Starlink will enable Starship today to stream more than 120 megabits per second of real-time, high-definition video and telemetry in every phase of flight, including views like you're seeing right now of those flaps moving. This not only helps provide those views, but it also helps give our engineers an incredible amount of data to help us rapidly and iterate across all parts of the system as we move through our development program. And all of the streaming data today will definitely be put to good use with the more than 30 cameras on the vehicle for flight. But providing epic views is sort of a side quest for Starlink. Its main job is obviously to provide internet access for people around the world, many of whom who have never had connectivity before. Now, today, Starlink serves more than 125 countries, territories, and other markets with over 5 million active customers and counting. And there are just so many inspiring ways that people are using Starlink all around the world and in space. And hopefully today, in a few minutes, everyone will get to see more inspiration about what our future in space looks like. And Dan and Kate, how are we looking for Starship's flight today?
Thanks, Chris. We are looking forward to those views as well. In fact, we're getting ready to launch Starship in just over 8 minutes. Now, as for a couple status updates, working no major issues on the vehicle. Range is emerald green, you could say. Everything looks great in terms of the sea and airspace here in the Gulf of America, as well as in the Indian Ocean. Of course, we want to make sure both areas are clear as the ship will be splashing down in the Indian Ocean while the booster is going to be coming back to us at the launch site just a couple miles behind Dan and I. Weather, you could call it a silver lining that we had to delay from Monday because holy moly, visibility is 1,000 times better today and it's going to make for some really great views. Now leading up to today, we did stack the vehicle later last night. Flight controllers reported to their consoles earlier today. The site was cleared and the range team was deployed.
That's right. And a lot of checkouts have happened just throughout the day, aligning our guidance, navigation, control, getting all the tanks ready for prop load, which has about 4 minutes left to go. You can see us almost topping out on ship, getting ready to top out on booster. And then it also includes getting all the ground support systems checked out, ready to go. Chopsticks were demated, did their wiggle test in advance of their upcoming catch opportunity. So as I just said, prop load's ongoing. We've got a little over about 4 minutes left until, or about 4 minutes. What's 7 minus 4? 4 minutes until we get to closeouts on ship and on booster. We did just hear that the range did pull again green. So we're not tracking any issues right now. Bottom line, things are looking great for launch at the top of our window at 5:30 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, very exciting. Now, once again, we are attempting to catch the booster at the launch tower. If that happens today, it will be the 3rd ever booster catch. This is an aspect that I really enjoy, and it's how the vehicle announces that it is back.
It lets you know.
Oh, yeah. This comes in an audible sonic boom in the area around the return location, which occur when the booster slows down from traveling at supersonic speeds. Similar sonic booms were heard during the return and landing of NASA's space shuttle.
Yes, sonic booms are unique to vehicles returning from space. They're kind of a hallmark of reusable systems like our Falcon 9 rocket and Falcon Heavy. General impact to those in the surrounding area is that brief thunder-like noise. I've been fortunate enough to be here for all of them so far. They definitely let you know the vehicle's coming. Here's a little bit about what it's like to experience it.
And as someone who grew up hearing those sonic booms as the shuttles landed in Florida, and now hearing them for Falcon and Starship as well, they really are something to experience. And when you hear them, you just know it's a spaceship telling everyone that it wants to be reused. Great sounds. So as you can hear, the room is getting excited here in Hawthorne. The crowd eager to see Starship fly, as you can see. And here, now behind me in our flight control room here in Hawthorne, you can see some of our folks on console. They're assisting the flight controllers in Starbase, keeping an eye on all of Starship's various systems, including its avionics and those Raptor engines we talked about a little bit earlier. So Dan and Kate, with 4 minutes, 20 seconds left on the clock, let's hit it back to you at Starbase and hopefully watch Starship lift off today.
Thanks so much, Chris. Now, if you're just joining us, we're now just about 4 minutes until the 8th test flight of Starship. As we reported earlier, range and weather are both very green, super green, if you will, and everything is looking good. Propellant loading continues to happen. We're going to be closing out very soon on both stages of Starship.
Yeah, we're almost fully fueled on our tanks. We're going to see that closeout coming in just about 30 seconds on ship. So that's both the main and the header tanks. And then about 30 seconds later on booster. Once prop load is complete, we got just shy of 1 million pounds of liquid propellant. That's liquid oxygen, liquid methane onto both vehicles. All of our ground systems will do what's called pushbacks. They'll clear all those feed lines. We're not continuously replenishing the propellant on board Starship or Super Heavy. That's why we essentially have several minutes where we can hang out at that T-minus 40 hold point before we start to run into issues with temperatures or just those LOX levels, or that LOX level on the booster is one of the main things that we watch. So we're also going to do a couple of final checkouts. We'll do one final one of the thrust vector control, the TVCs on the booster. We'll see them hopefully do a little bit of a wiggle test. The first one comes at about 1 minute 40 seconds before launch, and then the last one comes right as we pass that T-minus 40 gate. Again, if we need to hold, which we held a couple of times on Monday, we can do so at that T-minus 40 second. We're not currently tracking any issues that would hold us there, but if we do run into that, we can hang out for a couple minutes.
That would be the point in the countdown, as we mentioned on Monday. That T-minus 40 second point is when we can pause to hold for final checkouts or pressurizations if necessary. But once we pass that T-minus 40 second mark, a number of things are going to occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems will come up to flight pressure. The ship goes to internal power. And after that, the quick disconnect or QD arm lockout. That's removed in preparation for retraction shortly after T0. Once we pass T-minus 40 seconds, as we saw on Monday, we had the ability to recycle the count under certain conditions back to that T-minus 40 second mark and hold there to assess what happened and if we're able to proceed to T0.
And like we said, that we can hang out at T-minus 40 for several minutes before we start running into some limits, essentially. On our propellant on board. There are a couple of other things, like if we pass the T-minus 10 second point, and the water starts to flow in that flame deflector, and we scrub. That's automatic scrub for the day.
Close.
Oh, there's our TVC, our thrust vector control checkout. It's got a little bit of a wiggle there on those inner Raptor engines, those 13 inner ones, which are going to be used for that boost back burn and the landing burn. So cool to see those.
Yeah, I love that shot. We don't have that on Falcon. And it's just so cool to see really the business end of the Super Heavy booster.
Exciting. Very exciting. Nou, daar komt die 40 seconden timeset. Als hij hier voorbij gaat, dan gaan we aftellen.
10 seconds away from that T-minus 40 hold. We'll see.
Oh jee.
All right, we are going to hold at T-minus 40. We're watching the temperatures on the ship right now for the ship fuel. Sounds like they're working through that. We might be able to release that hold shortly. All right, sounds like we're going to be able to reset those holds, not tracking any other holds. And clock is rolling.
Okay.
And the clock is rolling once again. We're now T-minus 30 seconds till the liftoff of the 8th flight of Starship.
Our flight director, Joe Schleicher, today is go for launch. Let's listen in as he takes us through the final seconds of the count.
15 seconds. Okay. Here we go.
T-minus 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nice. Very nice.
Beautiful, pitching that range. Booster average pressure nominal.
All right, we're a little over 40 seconds into the flight. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines ignited. Boosters pushing us downrange over the Gulf. Next milestone coming up in just under 10 seconds is going to be max Q, that max aerodynamic pressure.
All Raptors
Max Q.
doen het. Wow.
All right, so we're through max Q. That's
nice.
the heaviest stresses it's kind of seeing on the way up. Wow, that was pretty incredible.
I'm still recovering. That was amazing. Beautiful views of the vehicle on ascent, pitching downrange away from the launch tower.
Next thing coming up is hot staging. So we're going to look for 6 engines to ignite on ship while we're still attached to the top of the booster. We'll see all but those 3 center engines shut down on booster.
We're hearing the initial call that we are go for booster catch back here at the launch tower. Coming up now on hot staging, the ship's engines will ignite while still attached to the Super Heavy booster, and also while Super Heavy booster will still be under power itself. The clamps holding the 2 stages together are going to release, and Starship second stage engines will
Booster
ignite.
engine cut off. Ship engine startup. Stage separation. Boost back burn startup.
Wow.
There we go. Ship engines, all 6 Raptors ignited. We're doing that boost back burn. Looks like we got 11 of the 13 that we command for that, so that's going to start sending the booster back. We are still go for booster return, even with 2 Raptors out during that boost back. We can do a full duration one.
Oh, yeah.
But looks like we got a ship, 6 engines heading into space, and then we got a booster hopefully on our way back to Starbase. How's everything going in Hawthorne, Chris?
Everything is looking good. The crowd eagerly followed that ascent and now watching the booster coming back. So as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen here, that is ship continuing. And that's a great view of ship continuing on its way to space. They're looking, that's inside the camera, inside the aft skirt, looking at the Raptor vacuum and the sea level engines. The sea level ones there in the center of your screen under our T+ clock. You can see our boost back burn. We're down to 3 engines on the boost back burn. And you can see ship on the right-hand side of that telemetry with 6 engines lit, continuing its ascent to orbit, already over 100 kilometers in altitude. The booster 87 kilometers in altitude and continuing its trek right now back to the landing site and catch site. There's a shutdown. And we just heard a good call out for boost back shutdown. The next thing we should see on our screen is the separation of the hot stage from the Super Heavy booster. We jettisoned that because we do not need it for the landing, but on future iterations of the Super Heavy, that hot stage ring will be incorporated into the booster and we will get it back. But for today, you can see it on the right-hand side of your screen there, just separating off of from the right-hand side of the booster. You can also see the booster doing its liquid oxygen dump there, which is exactly what we would expect for it to do as the booster gets itself configured for the landing here. Now, meanwhile, Starship will continue to coast after it reaches orbit for about 40 minutes or so up to an altitude of 214 kilometers, but it's still got a ways to go there, currently accelerating past 7,500 kilometers per hour there in velocity. And just look at those great views of the booster coming back. The Gulf coastline there just looks absolutely gorgeous.
Starship is on a nominal trajectory.
And there we hear nominal trajectories all around. And Dan and Kate, we're at 5 minutes, 15 seconds here into the flight. Everything looking good for the Super Heavy and for Starship today. What's it like there at Starbase as we get ready to catch?
It was incredible, Chris, to be able to see the mock diamonds with my own eyes. That was amazing. We are standing by for return of booster back to the launch tower. We have heard that we are go for the catch of the booster.
This coming from one of our long-range tracking cameras. We're able to see the hot stage separate and fly away. So coming up in just about 30 seconds, we're going to look for the landing burn. We're going to command those 13 inner and middle ring engines to turn on. 13 initially, they bleed off all of that velocity as we're slowing down from supersonic speeds, eventually moding down to only 3 engines for that precision flight into the tower.
Right now, booster using its 4 hypersonic grid fins to help guide itself through this atmospheric entry back for its precision landing at the launch site. Once again, we're going to ignite first the center 13 engines. We should see that coming up here momentarily.
Engines in startup.
This is going to come down to 3 engines as the booster slows down for its landing. And we just heard the sonic boom. What an incredible sight to see the Super Heavy booster gliding down into the chopstick arms once again.
Stuck the landing.
Amazing.
Wow. That will never get old.
All right. We saw 12 out of 13 light for that landing burn. Booster still able to make its way with that final precision burn on the 3 engines in for the tower catch. So booster caught. Meanwhile, keeping an eye on ship. Still got 6 Raptors burning. Those are going to continue for about another minute until we'll get to the Starship engine cutoff.
Ziet wel wat.
Really cool view. Again, a million shout outs to all of our avionics team who make these cameras possible for us. That's looking right down inside essentially the skirt area of the ship, where you can see a pretty good view of all 6 Raptors, especially those 3 inner ones, one of which we're going to hopefully relight a little bit later. And we just saw some engines go out. It looks like we are losing attitude control of the ship.
Okay, shit, dit is not going well. Je ziet het schip behoorlijk draaien, nu hier onderin ook. Ik weet niet wat hij aan het doen is.
Ship FTS is saved.
Okay, niet helemaal.
So we're still getting video down from the ship. You can see we've lost several engines and we've lost attitude control of the vehicle.
Oké. Oei, oei, oei. Maar wel beelden, hè, via dat Starlink, dat ze goed nog steeds die beelden hebben. Dat gaat via de satellieten van Starlink. Maar het ziet er, ja, hij is behoorlijk aan het schommelen. Ja, kijk, nou is het, oei, oei, oei.
So we'll continue to stick with it.
Ja, dat komt er ook omdat er maar 1 engine aan staat.
For those of you that have... For those of you that just recently joined us, we had a successful liftoff of the 8th test flight of Starship, followed by a successful stage separation. We saw the booster, actually, you can see it just behind us here. The booster had a successful catch back at the tower. Unfortunately, it seems as though we lost the attitude control of the ship. We are standing by as we listen in with the teams on the nets to understand what information we're able to provide you. We will provide that as soon as we are able, but it's pretty incredible to take a moment and see the booster just behind us. Certainly a different view than last time.
And at this point, we've essentially lost contact with the ship. We're no longer receiving telemetry at this moment.
Kaboom.
So we were only about 20 seconds away or so from the end of that ship ascent burn. We saw several of the engines start to cut out. Once you lose enough of those center engines, you're going to lose attitude control. And so we did see the ship start to go into a spin. And at this point, we have lost contact with the ship. So we're going to listen in for a little bit. I think it's pretty obvious we're not going to continue the rest of the mission today, but just give us a couple more minutes. We'll bring you more information as it comes in.
Problems. Vinden ze niet leuk? Tweede keer problemen met de motoren op Starship. Krijgen er hoofdpijn van, dat zie je ook. Ja. Waarom deden die motoren het niet? Oei, oei, oei. Een paar lanceringen daarvoor zat Elon Musk daar nog tussen. Ik zie Elon Musk nu niet tussen zitten. Even kijken of we bij Felix
our team's face.
Kijken.
Push the like button, smash the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching with us. We're investigating. Okay, so no, even before that, when we saw the engine bay, when everything was still good, there was this there. A little bit forward, I think. When that's it. Yeah, this doesn't look like vibrations from the cameras or something. This looks like the engine bay filling up with stuff. If you ask me, there is some vapor coming from the center engines. I think that's already where problems started. All right, switch back to SpaceX. We're going to analyze this in a moment. Maybe they have something more to say. Man, that was something. These past few Starship launches have really been exciting. You see the booster hanging there. That works just fine. Even though everybody before they attempted this said this is totally ludicrous and it'll never work. That seems to be the smallest problem. Even though it looks amazing. But yeah, the ship was off nominal again, and it kind of looks like it was from the engine bay again. First analysis, of course, this can change, but
no
didn't
satellites
look good.
again.
I saw the engine bay footage while Chris G was still saying, "Oh, this is epic." I was like,
En we zitten er allemaal op te wachten op mooie beelden van de Starships waar de satellieten eruit komen. Maar
any audio from SpaceX still? They're quiet right now. They're still assessing.
Waarom weer?
Yep, they're still assessing this. That's the same view we're getting, especially our pad cam right there is beautiful with the sun setting, with the booster hanging from the tower. This is surreal stuff. This is something out of this world. If it wasn't something I've already seen, it's unbelievable. But the ship, the dreaded Block 2 ship. There you can see the thrust lines.
All right, so coming back with you real quick. So can confirm we did lose contact with the ship.
It's landing.
Unfortunately, this happened last time too, so we've got some practice at this now. We've got a lot of measures in place, like debris response areas where we coordinate very closely with air traffic control. We have a lot of measures put before we ever launch a rocket to make sure that we're keeping the public safe. Those worked last time, and they're actively in work right now. So just to recap real quick, everything we saw, we lifted off right at the top of our window, essentially at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Booster was able to get us all the way up into space, made its way back here. It's sitting on the tower right behind us, our third ever catch. Starship ignited all 6 of its Raptor engines. It was just about 20 or 30 seconds away. We'll get exact times from the end of its ascent burn when we started to see some engines go out on ship. Eventually lost attitude control and then lost contact with the ship shortly after. So obviously a lot to go through, a lot to dig through. We're going to go right at it. The primary reason we do these flight tests is to learn. We have some more to learn about this vehicle, but we're going to be right back here in the not too distant future, and we're going to get a ship to space.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We fly to learn, and we're learning a lot. And as is the case with developmental programs such as the Starship program, progress isn't always linear. So at this point, we're going to close out our webcast for the day. But before we do, we'd like to give a shout out to our viewers, of course, as well as our partners, both here in Cameron County and around the world. Now, once we know more about the mission today, we'll provide you with updates on SpaceX.com as well as at SpaceX on X. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. In Cameron County and around the world. Now, once we know more about the mission today, we'll provide you with updates on SpaceX.com as well as at SpaceX on X. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Okay. Like I said, can we get that replay up again with the engine section? That's the most important evidence we have right now. To everybody who's still watching, thank you so much for going through this with us. It's pretty amazing. Flight 8 showed us the second time that I think there's trouble with the engine section. There's something wrong with the Block 2 design that they'll have to, that shot exactly, the one where you see the engine bay from the inside. I saw it and I was like, nah, this isn't the clean burn you should see, because normally when a rocket, especially a methane powered rocket, is in space, you don't see anything when the engines are on. You saw that in the beginning as well. We can do a comparison of that later. But as you can see there, if we can rewind that real quick again, you can see there's a lot of other stuff happening there. There's some small amount of venting going on the center engines. There's the entire engine bay is filled with this glow. There you can see even more action going on when it loses attitude control. That's not just engines shutting off, that's stuff rupturing. And it seems to be connected to the problem they had on Flight 7. It looks similar. So maybe the fixes they had are just not enough. They'll have to keep working on that. Maybe even redesign the entire downcomer situation that they have, the engine manifold, so on and so forth. They've made many changes with the Block 2 design, and when you see this kind of a spin, it's over. That's it. You normally don't recover from this. You can see later on here, if we keep this running for a moment, you can even see tanks rupturing. That's where I was like, all right, this is it. So this is really, really interesting. We're going to spend some time analyzing this to get, see, there you go. So you can see the first spillage is there and stuff like that on the side there. This isn't nominal at all. Even though the camera picture came back again one more time. Exactly. This is telling anybody who knows a little bit about rockets that flight is over. Yeah. That's the thing you're going to hear tomorrow, of course, because of all the political turmoil that's going on. You're going to hear the press scream that Elon Musk's rocket exploded again, but it's part of the deal. That's just how it goes. And they're going to keep testing. The Block 2 seems to have some problems, as we've seen. This is the second time, and it looks like it came from the engine section again. It was later on in the flight, though, which is great, because that means Turks and Caicos are not going to be bombarded by parts flying down. This should be further out on the ocean, and it should be within, excuse me? Hopefully off landing sites. Can we bring one of those on the screen? There you go. Okay. So where is this from? This is a tweet this is Starship debris. But how close is this to land? That would be interesting, because this is something that can't go on, and this is where I draw the line as well. If you need to have a corridor, that's something I said from the beginning on about Boca Chica. It has one thing that's great. It's secluded. It's out of everybody's range down there. If you ever visit Starbase, you'll see what I mean. It's pretty remote. Which is great for doing prototype work. But as soon as you start launching, Boca Chica has a problem that you have to aim for the space between the Keys and Cuba. And what else is down there? There's a lot of islands in that passage, and you have to aim through that. And if anything happens in the corridor before or above those islands, that's the benefit of the Cape. Once you're off the coast, there's a lot of spots where you can just splash down and nobody's interested. So this is a good example for one of the reasons why Starbase is a great spot for prototype development. But if you have problems with them in the air, that's what happens. So I'm really hoping right now that corridor was kept this time. It was kept last time as well, but a few pieces made it out of that corridor, according to reports at least. I'm hoping that that's not happening again, because that's something that's not really, really good, especially when you live down there. You will confirm that. The booster landings are amazing at this point. They just seem to be working just fine. That's great.
Ja, het blijkt erop dat in space de vacuüm Raptors niet doen wat ze moeten doen. Voor de tweede keer. Ze hebben het dus niet goed voor elkaar gekregen na de eerste ontploffing. En waarschijnlijk gaan we binnenkort wel beelden krijgen van de Starship ontploft weer ergens boven een eilandengroep ergens in de Caribbean. Maar we gaan het zien.
It's a live recording. It's not what we stored on our hard disk. That's why you see it breaking down a little bit. This should be our other camera, right? This is Lone Palm. Oh, yeah, that's our live feed, right? Yep. So that's the booster still bleeding off that little bit of fuel, so that it can be low.
Everyday Astronaut, of die er nog wat van te vertellen heeft. Even kijken hoor. Everyday Astronaut.
Such as the drone? Still your fan. Well, thank you so much. I just love cars. That's awesome. Thank you for sticking around and really appreciate that. John Dapker, good. It's 39 months. Oh, hey, only seems like yesterday when I signed up. And I love Apollo video. Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. And I love seeing your name. You've been around for a while, as that shows. Thank you so much to Cisco for becoming a member. So I'm just trying to kind of fly through these ones so we can get...
What About It van
It looks absolutely nominal. The booster catches almost seem routine at this point, which is completely crazy if you imagine what they're actually doing there. Catching a 200-ton rocket that goes down at 8,000 kilometers per hour from the edge of space with a rocket in the dunes of Boca Chica, with a robot in the dunes of Boca Chica. It's just incredible that this is number 3. Imagine this. This is SpaceX demonstrating that this works. It's crazy. But the ship. They have some pretty amazing goals with the ship, and that's probably the reason why we're seeing these tests fail right now. It has to do so many things that have never been done by a rocket upper stage. The booster is fairly similar to a Falcon 9 booster, even though you would probably right now be like, what? But it actually is. I mean, it uses different engines and different fuel, but it's grid fin technology, and the way it returns back to the launch site, even though it doesn't have any legs, is pretty... look at this beautiful recording. Yep. This is Jonathan from the team tracking the rocket. He hasn't looked at it yet, so he's hoping that the tracking worked. Beautiful. He's downplaying it right now like crazy. He's working with a poor connection to the camera to be able to track it. And he's like, right now in the back, you should hear him say that, oh, this is all bad. No, this is really good, Jonathan. Thank you for tracking the rocket like this. And it's also a camera that is not built for tracking. It's a PTZ camera. Normally you track a rocket with a fluid head or with a telescope mount or something like this. So seeing him keeping it in frame like this is pretty amazing. I'm very much looking forward to the actual recording. That's going to be even more crisp.
Ja. Ja, misschien is het wel een te grote wens om de satellieten uit de Starship te laten komen. En dat daardoor de fouten misschien... ja, ik weet niet. Het is ook iets ingewikkelds natuurlijk. Maar het is al een aantal keren goed gegaan met het vorige model Starship. Dus waarom niet met het nieuwe model, met de nieuwe flaps... Dus het is een nieuw type Starship wat erop zit. Maar het is goed gegaan met andere Starships. Het is al drie keer goed gegaan. En nou willen ze die satellieten eruit gaan. En dan hebben ze het nieuwe model Starship daar ook voor. En dan gaat het niet goed. Ik snap niet helemaal wat nu eigenlijk dat probleem kan zijn. Waarom het nu niet goed gaat. Terwijl die al 2 keer aan de andere kant van de wereld in de zee gekomen is. Er zijn ook hele mooie beelden van. En nu hebben we gewoon 2 keer dat het niet goed gaat. Waar gaat dat fout? Ik vind het bijzonder. Het had gewoon makkelijk goed kunnen gaan. Want het is al 2, 3 keer goed gegaan dat hij in de zee, ergens bij Australië in de zee terechtkomt. En waarom met het nieuwe model, met die nieuwe flaps, gaat het nu niet goed? Ja, geen idee. Want... Hij is al 2 keer in de oceaan bij Australië terechtgekomen op een goede manier. En nu in ene niet. Ik vind het bijzonder waarom ze het nu niet goed doen. Ik denk dat de druk om iets moois neer te zetten met die satellieten die eruit gaan. En dat misschien, ik weet het niet. Maar het heeft iets met druk te maken. Sowieso met druk waarschijnlijk van de Raptors. Dus te weinig druk om de Raptors van brandstof te voorzien en zuurstof. Maar ja, goed. Even luisteren naar Felix.
I mean, what I came here for is that recording of our landing view of the booster come in. Mm-hmm. It's also live recording, so there's going to be some compression in there, as it's not the actual recording on the SD card.
Yeah, let's just take a look at that different angle. It's always nice. You can't get enough angles for this kind of stuff. I'm so looking forward to seeing the first one live. Like I said, I've seen plenty of Falcon 9 boosters return to the Cape, but I've never seen a super heavy booster return, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Like...
Yeah, but we are hopefully going to go to Starbase soon, you and I, right? Right.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's coming for a visit from Germany, for a second visit actually, and we are hoping that we're going to go to Starbase together in the next few weeks. I would love to, even if there's no ship to anybody who has.
I would love to go to. Ik wil ook gewoon...
narrow in on the booster and just grab it out of mid-air.
Mijn plannen zijn om eind dit jaar ook richting Cape Canaveral, Texas te gaan. Om zo'n lancering live te kunnen gaan zien. Of dat gaat lukken, weet ik niet. Dat is allemaal financieel maar mijn plannen zijn om eind dit jaar of aan het einde dit jaar richting Texas te gaan om daar te gaan kijken live bij de lancering. Maar ja, dat is toekomstplannen, maar laten we hopen dat ik daar ook verslag kan doen van wat er daar live dan afspeelt. Goed.
Let's see if that happens in the future. So that they are not going to use pad B, but they're actually going to set down the booster and then catch the ship. Imagine that. Yeah, that's SpaceX. That's the dog. Jim, give me just a second. I'm going to let him free from the studio. 1 second.
Do that. In the meantime, here's our other view. That should be the booster landing as well. Let me just crop it to somewhere where we can actually see it. And you can beautifully see the chopstick move in position in a second.
Yep.
Looks pretty
and
cool.
The fine movement is very, very interesting. They added some radar sensors, some additional radar sensors since the last catch. And it's getting better and better, and it almost looks like routine.
It's catching better and better. It looks better than het ziet er gewoon beter uit als de vorige keer, die catching booster. En daarom snap ik niet waarom dat andere dan...
I mean, everybody's used to Falcon 9 now. That's great, but SpaceX is still the only company doing this kind of stuff. So, and then now they're doing this. They're already on to the next step while everybody else is still trying to catch up to them. So kudos to the SpaceX engineers, but the engine team, the engine compartment team on the Block 2 booster has some work ahead of them. These fixes didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Ja. 1 uur. 7 maart 2025. Het is 1 uur. Morgen moet ik om 7 uur weer aan het werk.
The Block 2 ship to fight with these vibrations more than the Block 1 ever did. So there are steps forward on Block 2, but there are also steps back. But that's prototyping. It's still venting. It's almost no.
Ja, we moeten toch ergens gaan afsluiten. We kunnen nog wat andere video's erin gooien. Ja, hoe gaan we dit afronden? Dat is mijn gedachtegang. Dat zit dan weer hier in het hoofd. Ja, geen satellieten. Geen beeld van Starship in de ruimte vanaf een satelliet gefilmd. Tweede keer dat het eigenlijk fout gaat met een heel mooi plan van SpaceX. Ja, blijven we nog even bij Felix hangen. Gaan we wat anders uitzenden. We zitten nu met 3 kijkers. Dus ja, voor de kijkers hoef ik het niet te doen. Maar ja, je moet zoiets ook afronden. Even terug naar Felix.
One team fixing the Block 2 ship, but there's another team already preparing for its catch. And this might definitely be part of that, because this is sped up. Before, it wasn't that quick. So SpaceX is already testing procedures needed to, as quickly as possible, get that booster out of these arms again. It looks beautiful. Yeah. That's basically everything I can give you as a post-analysis here right now. So I'm going to do a few more questions because you guys have sent so many super chats in. Again, to all those that I'm not going to read out, thank you so much for it, for supporting our efforts. It's very, very much appreciated. Okay, so we have John Bruzo. Hopefully this isn't a question connected to if ship 2, Block 2 will make it. Musk on Rogan this week. You need a very fine vermicelli of glass and aluminum oxide, glass and very fine sapphire fibers in exactly the right geometry. This is referring to the heat tiles. Yeah, that's what I meant. I said there is a bit of aluminum in this silica foam to increase its heat conductivity. But yeah, it's not a magic box that you can just open and have a better heat tile. It takes a lot of material research, and it sometimes is just limited to what you have. So that's why SpaceX is already exploring. Here we see the launch again. That's why SpaceX is already exploring different heat tile configurations: actively heated, actively cooled, metallic heat tiles, and so on and so forth. Look at how it's shifting away, pitching away from the tower immediately. And that booster just performs, and it's just the Block 1. I hope that this isn't going to be a step back on the Block 2 booster. Oh, I don't want to jinx it. The Block 1 booster is working just fine already. Look at this. And then you have to imagine this, the Starship standing on top of each other is what, 120, 125 meters right now? If you look at that flame that's under the booster when it's taking off, you can see that flame is double, triple the length of the booster. So you can imagine what kind of a flame is blasting out of the back of that booster. It's just incredible. So yeah, that's the I need to watch the Musk Rogan thing as well. I haven't watched that yet. I've been so busy with this launch.
Musk Rogan, ja, daar wilde ik eigenlijk misschien wel eventjes naar gaan kijken.
It's almost impossible for us to keep up with everything. Thank you so much for the super chat. We have Floey. Thank you so much for the super chat. As the rate SpaceX is going, when do you think they might go from flight tests to full missions or even manned missions? Okay, so crewed missions. You've seen it again just now. Block 2 seems to still have problems. Before these problems aren't gone, they cannot think about. They can't even deploy the dummy satellites right now.
By the way, Elon
that doesn't mean they're never going to do this. Don't be fooled by anybody telling you, this stuff's never going to work. Look at what SpaceX has already achieved. But it obviously takes a little bit more time. And that's just how it goes. Beautiful landing burn there of the booster. Lots of gimbaling action. You see when the flame is changing direction like this, that's the engines. It's amazing what's going on in the software there. That's what we earlier had a question if we can do an episode on software. That's the software. That's all the software working together there in milliseconds to control the descent of this 200-ton booster. I'm saying it again. It's amazing. And then you can see that sway that SpaceX wants to get rid of as well in the future. It's not supposed to sway. It's swaying right now because the construction is just the way it is. But I'm pretty sure.
Ja, wat ik ook wel nu merk, dat hij wat minder schommelt dan de vorige keer. Lijkt wel of hij wat gestabiliseerder in de armen terecht is gekomen.
Full missions or even crewed missions. We'll see. Full missions this year, definitely.
Full missions?
I don't think it's going to take him longer than this year, but crewed missions, as I said before, when I answered the question, before I saw the results of this one, you
moet het toch beter, beter presteren, ja, om
So it'll take some time. But it still is absolutely amazing to watch, and I'm so happy we've seen it again today. I just wish the ship would have gone a little bit further. That would have been even better.
Ja, dat hopen we natuurlijk allemaal. Ik miste Jessie ook vandaag. Jessie was vorige keer wel erbij. Ik vind haar ook altijd wel... ik vind haar een bijzondere stem hebben. Waarom was Jessie er niet bij vandaag?
But it's been happening less and less the last few launches, and I'm happy about that. We've had a lot of Jonathan is just saying.
Ja, What About It van Felix. Ik kijk regelmatig naar zijn verslag. Hij brengt bijna 3 keer per week wel een verslag uit van het verslag. En alle respect voor What About It. Ook zijn shirt met Raptor Engine heb ik van hem. Dus, nou ja, goed.
Because we're it's in crunch time and we want to give you a meaningful analysis and not.
Hij analyseert dus ook en is morgen daar waarschijnlijk met een analyse ook online.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Check it. What about it? WEIJDEN. What about it? Op YouTube. Ik gebruik zijn kanaal ook, dus alle respect voor Felix.
And
he's saying,
you can see,
was there an engine exploding? I have not seen this clip myself yet, and I see. What can you play it?
You need to watch on this monitor here.
Yep. Yeah. It might be anything. It might be an engine exploding, but it might also be just a leak. I've definitely detected a leak in there before the engines went out. So this might be connected to a leak before that. I'm not sure about it yet, but yeah. Oh, and there was another one. Show the dog from 250 from a while ago. The dog's out the studio. I'm sorry, but I might be able to show you the dog on the next one. It's much appreciated that you have so much interest in our dog. He's a good one. So this needs analysis. It could be an engine explosion resulting from something else, because I've seen stuff go on before any engines exploded. That's what I'm going to do when I leave you with the views that we have here. That's what we normally do for all those who have been on these streams before. We'll leave you with these views, so don't worry about it. You'll be able to gasp at the booster a little longer, but I'll get to analyzing what happened so that we can get an episode out. But it might not come tomorrow. We'll do everything we can, but if it's not at sufficient quality, give us another day, and we'll show you what we came up with on Saturday, maybe.
We want it tomorrow.
Yeah. That's Friday.
Felix, we want it tomorrow.
The ship. Okay,
just
we
come
have
back to the leak real quick. To the leak Felix was talking about.
Yes.
So it's sadly covered by the bar down here, so we need to wait until that goes away. But you can see if you watch here in the bottom right.
Yes, there is stuff flowing.
Ja, je ziet die rode gloed. En daar heb ik het al over gehad. Je ziet die rode gloed. En dat betekent dat er iets brandt wat niet hoort te branden.
If you look at bottom right where it says the amount of fuel that's still in the ship, I'm not 100% sure if because that starts rapidly changing differently now. That might be because of how the orientation of the ship.
Yes, I think that. I mean, it's not obviously not filling up. That's the sensor.
En helaas heb ik.
Because the ship is changing orientation. It's because that's like an old school fill indicator on a tank.
Helaas moet ik mijn slechte gewoonte. Er zit al 1 sigaret.
No, you don't.
De laatste weken een beetje te veel gerookt.
So yeah.
Toch vanaf.
No, this is connected to the spin itself. This is going to be fun analyzing. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but I do think that this failure is visible way before the engines cut out. You can almost quote me on that by now. Okay, so Sonlido, do you know about the space race to mine helium-3? Yes, I do. Europe, USA, Russia, China, India, 500.
Oké, ik ga Felix even het geluid uitzetten. En we gaan naar Joe Rogan. Ja. Ik zit hier op... ik moet even kijken, want ik weet niet precies waar het is. Dus, oké. We gaan even kijken waar we nu zijn. The puppets carry out. Oké. Oh. Oké. Moment. Even, dit is reclame. Live ook bij Norton. Ik geloof niet in Norton, maar goed. Joe Rogan wordt Even kijken hoor. Oké, dan komt het. Hier komt hij.
Now the same idiots are calling you a Nazi. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean,
there's so many examples of people saying my heart goes out to you.
Sure,
you did
sure.
it with a little enthusiasm that probably wouldn't be recommended with hindsight.
Yes, but I was obviously meant in the most positive spirit possible.
Yes,
yeah,
obviously. But it's so strange where people want to think that you are openly publicly doing secret Nazi Sieg Heil hand motions.
And now I can never point at things diagonally. I can only point at things there and there. And then you have to divide that.
Yeah.
Because that's where the spaceship is, over there. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When CNN, when I was in all my trouble.
Absurd.
Every time CNN used a photo of me, it was one of the photos from the UFC weigh-ins, where I go like this, welcome to the weigh-ins. So every photo is me. Every photo is me.
It's absurd.
It's so crazy.
Well, it's deliberate propaganda. So that they know it was not. It was obviously not meant in a negative way. That I literally said my heart goes out to you, and it was very positive. The entire speech was very positive. I was being very enthusiastic about the future in space, and it was a great crowd. So
yeah, you got a little pumped up.
Yeah, it got pumped up, exactly.
Yeah, that's all it is. Obviously. There's video of Tim Walsh doing the exact same thing. Right. Exact same thing, and he said, of course, it's a Nazi salute. He said that.
Right.
This is how crazy things have gotten.
Well, it's coordinated propaganda. So it's coordinated propaganda. Doesn't it seem weird that the legacy media all says the same thing? They all say the same thing at the same time using the same phrases. They don't even bother picking up a thesaurus.
Right.
So, right before, the debate between Biden and
sharp as
Trump. Everyone was saying sharp as attack. Like, who says sharp as attack? But
yeah, exactly.
It's not a common phrase.
It's definitely not common to be repeated on air with multiple people simultaneously. Yes. That's weird.
Yes.
That's coordinated.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of people saying it simultaneously. They just got their instructions.
Yeah.
So essentially the Dem leadership or, political leadership, they issue their instructions and their puppets carry it out.
Yeah.
And they're just like puppets in a puppet show.
And that's the problem that I see with all this Doge stuff.
Right.
Because everybody should be celebrating that we've found a way to cut out fraud and waste.
Yeah.
If you pay taxes and you don't like that you have to pay so much in taxes, and then you find out that there's significant fraud and waste that's been exposed, you should be celebrating it. This shouldn't be, oh no, the wrong people found this fact and now it's a bad thing.
Yes.
And then there's the fucking propaganda, the mindfuck of calling it U.S. aid.
Yeah,
instead of the United States Agency for International Development. It sounds like it's feeding hungry people.
Right.
People are going to starve, Elon. This is horrible. And then you find out, actually, it's like $250 million for transgender animal studies.
Literally mutilating animals.
Yes.
Mutilating animals in demented studies.
Yes.
That are like the worst thing you could possibly imagine from a horror show.
The beagle one. The beagle puppy one.
Horrific.
Yeah, where they covered their head in a basket and put fleas on their heads so they'd eat them alive.
Yeah.
And then they studied these beagles and then killed them. Like, what are you going to learn from that? That's good for anybody.
Yeah. There's some psychotic stuff that happens. So, yeah, I guess the real threat here is to the bureaucracy. So, you probably saw, let's say, Trump is a threat to our democracy, which is ironic since he was elected with the majority of the, popular vote. They started saying I was a threat to democracy. But if you just replace threat to democracy with threat to bureaucracy, it makes total sense.
Right.
So, the reality is that our elected officials have very little power relative to the bureaucracy until Doge. So Doge is a threat to the bureaucracy. It's the first threat to the bureaucracy. Normally the bureaucracy eats revolutions for breakfast. This is the first time that they're not. That the revolution might actually succeed. That we could restore power to the people instead of power to the bureaucracy.
Now, the size of it.
Yeah.
Was when you guys first started investigating it, when you first get in, how much of it was shocking? Like this, just the size of it all.
Well, the size of it all, the small decisions result in multi-billion-dollar outcomes. So, we'd see, it was a case where we saw one person was getting $1.9 billion sent to their NGO, which basically got formed about a year ago and had no prior, no prior activity. So they just stand up an NGO. The whole NGO thing is a nightmare, and it's a misnomer, because if you have a government-funded non-governmental organization, you're simply a government-funded organization. It's an oxymoron.
Right. It's a loophole.
Yes. It basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to, people cash out these nonprofits. They become very wealthy through nonprofits. They pay themselves enormous sums through these nonprofits.
It's so insane that that's been going on for so long.
It's a gigantic scam, like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
Ja. Wat hij hier dus ook zegt, dat als je er dus geen winst mee maakt, maar dat je dus voor de overheid werkt, dat het dan legaal zou zijn. Terwijl, in Amerika zijn ze heel erg anti-overheid. De natuur van anti-Amerika. Of anti-overheid. Amerika is anti-overheid. En alles wat er dus onderzocht wordt door de overheid. Elon Musk en Trump zijn natuurlijk wel Amerikanen. En die zijn dus anti-overheid. En die geloven dat alle studies eigenlijk buiten de overheid moeten plaatsvinden. Zodat de overheid, dat er geen menging kan zijn tussen overheid en studie. Uiteindelijk daarom willen ze alle studies buiten de overheid hebben. En willen ze de overheid eigenlijk alleen tot beschermer van het volk maken. En dat ze dus niet mengen in wetenschappelijke studies. Ook over vooral psychologische wetenschappelijke studies. Ik vind het wel heel apart dat Europa en Amerika eigenlijk twee verschillende manieren van denken hebben. Want Europa die wil dat de overheid zich overal in mengt. Dus ook als het om milieu gaat, maar in Amerika willen ze dat buiten de overheid zien. En ja, is heel apart. Het lijkt ook wel alsof wat in overheid, wat hoort in Europa is dat links de standaard is. Dus dat de overheid dingen moet oplossen. Zien Amerikanen in dat de overheid zich daar niet mee moet bemoeien en dat het allemaal door private sectors opgelost kan worden. Zodat de overheid niet mee subsidieert aan bepaalde plannetjes. En dat het volk echt vanuit zichzelf... wat dat betreft lijkt wel of de standaard in Europa links is. En de standaard in Amerika gewoon rechts is. En het lijkt wel of links in Amerika rechts is. En rechts... wat rechts is in Amerika, dat in Europa juist links is. Dus dat het twee totaal verschillende... Maar dat heeft te maken met de anti-overheidsinstelling van de Amerikanen. Die bij het begin van de Amerikaanse staat en bij de begin de First Amendments en van Amerika duidelijk is gemaakt dat de overheid overal buiten gelaten moet worden. En ja, daarom zien wij het allemaal als een kwaad als er een heel ministerie wordt opgezegd in Amerika. En in Amerika zien ze dat juist iets als iets goeds. Dus het lijkt wel of wat wij links hebben, dat daar rechts is. Links en rechts is daar gewoon net het lijkt wel of het twee verschillende in elkaar gaande werelden zijn. Maar goed, ja. Ik kan nog, kijk, je ziet hier nog... We zijn nog maar bij 18 minuten. Ik heb het ook nog niet zo ver gekeken, maar er is gewoon 3 uur aan geouwehoer bij Joe Rogan en Elon Musk. Dat zou je hier in Nederland ook niet zo gauw zien met de rijkste Nederlander van Nederland. De rijkste Nederlander van Nederland brengt een interview uit van 3 uur met het interviewkanaal. De rijkste Nederlander van Nederland, die wil gewoon helemaal niet eens in beeld. Die wil gewoon anoniem zijn. En dan allemaal commentaren over Elon Musk. Maar hij geeft wel even een 3 uur interview aan Joe Rogan. Totale andere wereld. Ja, rijke mensen in Europa worden gewoon die zijn anoniem. En in Amerika zijn alle rijke mensen van Amerika. Die zijn allemaal best wel open. En in Europa zijn alle rijke mensen eigenlijk niet open. Die zijn allemaal, laten we ons verbergen. Want ik ben rijk, maar ja, dat wil ik niet laten weten aan het volk. In Amerika is het totaal tegenovergesteld. Ja. En daarom denk ik ook dat wij goed moeten begrijpen dat meningen en verschillen, dat er gewoon veel verschillen zijn. En dat we totaal niet allemaal hetzelfde zijn. En dat we niet moeten denken dat de hele wereld hetzelfde moeten gaan zijn als wij zelf zijn. Want we zijn niet zo. Wij zijn anders. Goed. Ik zie nog wat... een bericht dat... dat space is fake. Just fake it. Even kijken. Wat? Joke, Starship. Ja. Transformers are realistic. Goed. Ja, dat hele flat earth gedoe. Ik begrijp best dat Europeanen vooral... Ja, ik weet niet of het Europeanen zijn. Maar... misschien zijn de flat earthers in Amerika wel Europeanen. Ik weet het niet. Ja. Ik heb Seppa nog niet even gehad. Dus ik ga Frank Seppa er even ingooien. Met een mooie concludering over hoe de overheid ons aan het opvoeden is. Die gaat er even tussendoor komen. Komt-ie aan. Frank Seppa.
How in schools?
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
How in schools?
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
How in schools?
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
How in
Ja, terug. Er zijn toch beelden gekomen van Starship Flight 8 en de explosie van Flight 8 of van Starship. Dus die ga ik maar even delen. Dus ik hoop dat jullie dat leuk vinden of zo. Ja, goed, komt-ie.
I just saw that Starship blew up. There it is. I saw that it just did. Like my phone was blowing up. I didn't know that it. I just saw that Starship blew up. There it is.
Impressing. Dat was dus uiteindelijk Starship. Gewoon in een soort van vallende sterren uit de hemel. Bijzondere.
I saw that it just did. Like my phone was blowing up.
Dus ja, dat ben ik nog even aan het even kijken of we nog meer beelden hebben.
There's all kinds, but it's yeah, it's going down. It's going down.
Sure it goes.
Yeah.
That's great. We have more stuff to pick up on the beach.
Wow. Well, there's still a bright.
Flight 8. Ja. Mooi. Dit zijn echt heel mooi.
What an incredible sight to see the super heavy booster gliding down into the chopstick arms once again.
The booster.
We hopen nu natuurlijk dat er geen brokstukken mensen hebben verwond. Het ziet eruit als de vorige keer. Een explosie van de Starship. En hopelijk gaat het de volgende keer wel goed. Onbegrijpelijk dat het nu niet goed gaat eigenlijk, wat ik al eerder... Ja, dat was mooi, de Starship in brokstukken geëxplodeerd in de ruimte en in brokstukken terug in de aarde gebracht. Uiteindelijk is het allemaal niet helemaal goed gekomen.
Booster coming in. Get ready for that boom.
Down to 3 ends. We can see the booster now occurring as it aligns with the tower for catch.
Booster coming in. Get ready for that boom.
Down to 3 engines. We can see the booster now occurring as it aligns with the tower for catch.
Booster coming in. Get ready for that boom.
Down to 3 engines. We can see the booster now occurring as it aligns with the tower for catch.
Booster coming in. Get ready for that boom.
Down to 3 engines.
Ja, dit is wel een mooi filmpje hoor, dat je ziet dat ze toch er vooruit gaan. Hè? Oktober 2024, januari 2025 en de bovenste is dus van vandaag.
We can see the booster now occurring as it aligns with the tower for catch.
Booster coming in. Get ready for that boom.
Down to 3 engines. We can see the booster now occurring.
Wat dat betreft zijn ze vooruit gegaan. Helaas met de Starship zijn ze achteruit gegaan. Waar dat aan ligt, daar komen we later wel achter, denk ik. Ja. Net na de explosie. Maar een kort filmpje.
Up, there it is.
Het ziet er wel naar uit dat ze nu niet boven een eilandengroep terecht zijn gekomen. Dus wat dat betreft zijn ze ook weer vooruit gegaan. Ja, hier wou ik het bij laten. Ik dank jullie allemaal voor het kijken. Ik heb 0 kijkers. 1 kijker. Ja, we hebben hier nog... Everyday Astronaut, die nog met een uitzending is.
Glenn A, thank you so much. Matt Bryce, SpaceX have nailed launch vehicles, but spacecraft are new to them, and they have yet to prove they can do it. It is a bigger challenge. The Starship upper stage is a huge challenge. Crawl Space, the sound on the stream during launch was absolutely incredible. I hope you watch it back to hear it for yourself. Thank you for everything, Tim and team. Thank you so much, Crawl Space. Appreciate that.
Oké, dat was het voor vandaag. Ik ga de video inzetten en dan gaan we ermee stoppen. Dankjewel voor het kijken. Het is nu 1:40. Ik moet morgen weer aan het werk, dus ik ga lekker naar bed toe. Dankjewel voor het kijken en tot de volgende keer.
QS 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. FC2, please prepare for section 35. OSC, SC1, LBN.
Plus 30 seconds, Starship 10 has liftoff. It's headed to 10 kilometers.